Hey, welcome, Symmetry Nation. Appreciate you guys getting on here. It's 10:30 a.m. Eastern. Appreciate everybody being on here and on time. We're going to go ahead and get cracking. Well, this is the Master Agency weekly Zoom session. I've not come up with anything like a weekly Webby yet. I think I've got to come up with something pretty snazzy for that our Zoom session each week. So I don't know. Well, I'm still working on a catchphrase. If you got one out there in Jingle Land, send us your thoughts. Maybe we'll put one up there. But love to start it out each and every week, folks, with really just talking about what some people had did out in the field, brag on them a little bit, and just show some numbers. Really just show what's possible if you're willing to go out there, run the amount of appointments necessary to show what's possible here at Symmetry Financial. Getting to our top 7 this past week, we've got Dominique Austin. Way to go, Dominique Austin. 3,060 in premium. Way to go, buddy. No, you just took a leap forward here at Symmetry Financial, looking for a lot of big things from you. Jordan Gillum, 3,442. Way to go, Jordan. We got Jeffrey Miller getting into our top 5, 3,668 in premium. Way to go, Jeffrey Miller. Seeing you on the leaderboard almost every week. Myself at 4,315. We've got Laura Davis, no stranger to our leaderboards. Listen to this, folks. You want to know big production numbers. 8 applications this past week for Laura Davis, $8,577 in premium. Way to go, Laura Davis. That is awesome. Puts her in the number 3 spot overall. We've got number 2 spot, Mr. Elijah Carujo, at 7 applications for $9,223 in premium. So way to go, Elijah Carujo. Following your cohort and brother in arms, Mr. Grant Reynolds. There can only be one number 1 this week, folks. Mr. Grant Reynolds, we're going to have him on the call today. 9 applications, folks, for, check this out, $15,788.64 in premium. Very impressed, young man. That is some awesome numbers, buddy. You may move up in your Star Wars movie. It's an inside joke for me and him. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe we'll switch characters with you. Inside joke for Mr. Grant Reynolds. But proud of you, buddy. I hope everybody heard that number. That's 9 applications for $15,788 in premium. That's a super good week. No matter how you slice it, folks, that's a great week out in the field. Really, those top 3 numbers were super impressive. Laura, Elijah, and Grant. All 3 of you, super kudos to you there. Which leads us to our group of the week. No surprise on this right here. Our group of the week. I believe, Grant, it was an all-time record for you and your organization. 29,673 in annual premium volume, putting you guys in 2 weeks well over 44,000 in premium volume in 2 weeks of production here at Symmetry Financial. Well on pace to have your first $100,000 month here at Symmetry Financial. That, sir, is some impressive numbers. So kudos to you and your organization. Well deserved. All the accolades on that right there. Super proud of you guys with that. Which leads us into our recruiting leaderboards, folks. We've got recruiting leaderboards, and I love seeing this. We've got Barry Davis, Jared Gillum, Grant Reynolds, all with 10 or more STPs this past week. Love seeing that, because that's typically, if you see somebody consistently on that leaderboard, that's the people that typically over time, as long as they plug in, they constantly correct, and they go in and they keep looking for the right people, eventually they find those right people. And that right there will lead them to great things to build an organization. Grant Reynolds has been a part of that leaderboard for a while, and you see that group's numbers start to really take off, approaching 100,000 a month this month, guarantee it. So that also gets us into brand new contracted recruits within our company. We want to talk about those leaderboards. So once you start sharing the plan and showing the plan each week, it leads you to people that find that Symmetry is the right fit for them, and people that want to come aboard with Symmetry Financial, and people that start a business here. So let's look at the people that actually not only STP'd those people, but found those people and got those people moving forward to the next step. Mr. Grant Reynolds had a licensed contractor recruit. Barry Davis, contractor recruit this past week. Sharon Casanova, what go Sharon Casanova, brand new contractor recruit. Balzarn this past week. I love the diversity of all of our groups, having people they're bringing on. Jordan and Jared Gillum. I'm going to say Jared Gillum because I think Jared Gillum's running that recruiting department over there. Way to go, Jared Gillum, buddy. That is super good. 3 brand new contracted recruits this past week. Way to go, Jared Gillum. See you, man. That is some good stuff, man. And then me and myself and my partner in crime over there, y'all say you're Miss Tina Freeman. We had 4. Yay, us, Miss Tina. So, so yay. So we had 4. That's awesome. So 11 new recruits as an organization this past week. I'm telling you, we're in another stratosphere of that right there. If y'all look at the national leaderboards of Symmetry Financial, I just want you to know what you guys are doing as a group. We're starting to consistently be amongst the top recruiters in the entire country. Just our little old organization. I tell you, someday it's going to lead to some great things. You're going to find a lot of great people with that right there. So super proud of everybody on that right there. Tina, if I miss anything, I know you're back there probably taking notes on my mistakes. If I miss anything, you let me know. So, all right. So anyway, I also want to get into, I think we're going to do the drum roll. Well, no, I'll save that for just a few more minutes. News and notes. News and notes. This upcoming week, 4 o'clock Eastern, every Wednesday, Betsy Barr, Jordan Gillum host a debt-free life webinar, seminar, Zoom session, whatever you want to call it. It's pretty awesome. I checked it out this past week. Gives you the ability, folks, to share, really the debt-free life program with your clients. I'd get on there, check it out, but more importantly, I'd start sending clients to that right there. Gives you the ability for your clients to learn more about debt-free life, what it can do for them, what it's done for other families. That's 4 o'clock Eastern every week. I know Betsy shares it here on our Zoom session. She also shares it to her Facebook as well. So be checking those things out and make sure that you're putting that in your schedule to plug people into. I'm utilizing it for some of my clients because I think my clients could learn a lot about debt-free life and see if debt-free life may be a fit for them on that weekly webinar, Zoom session. Maybe we'll call it a weekly Webby. So make sure you're plugging people into that. So that's the news and notes. Also this week, we're going to have a lot of our leaders. We're going to trim it down. We're going to make this thing quick and efficient. It's going to be about an hour and 5, maybe hour, 10 minutes max. We're going to have a corporate overview call, 7 p.m. Eastern, Wednesday, also 4 p.m. Pacific. So for anybody across the country that you're out there recruiting and you're looking to recruit people into Symmetry Financial, you have the ability to plug them into this call, hear from a Laura Davis, a Grant Reynolds, an Elijah, a Jordan Gillum, and they can see these people live. And they can see what they've done here at Symmetry. They'll hear a little bit about their story. We're going to give them a quick corporate overview. And the good news is you can utilize that as a platform to have people have further interest in you and your business. And I'm telling you, folks, over the years, what we did, we concentrate on first I'd interview people, and then I would get them to a meeting bigger than I was. And I would brag about Brandon Ellison or Casey Watkins, and I would get those people in those meetings. And eventually other people found that Symmetry was a great fit for them. And some of those people, you got Grant Reynolds and all those other people in that organization on the call today, because it all started out with me STPing, getting that person to another big meeting, which Grant, I think we took you over to Raleigh, North Carolina. I didn't take you. I just told you where to meet me at, right? And,
just told me to show up.
I just told you to show up when you showed up, but that's good. But all you guys got to do is use these type of platforms. That is one of the key ingredients. If you want to know, one of the best advice I can give you to grow a business, don't make it all about yourself. Make it about, because you yourself may have not seen the level of success that a Grant, a Jordan, a Laura, a Joe, a Val, those people out in the call, but you can utilize their success as a platform to grow your business. And I just say, think about that. Utilize that. That's 7 p.m. this Wednesday, 4 p.m. Pacific. We're going to put the Zoom link out here on GroupMe later today for that. Also, you have the ability to go in and like I said, share that opportunity with other people, with the people that are doing it and doing it well. So that's that. Making sure I've got no other news and notes on my end. I do believe, Miss Tina, give me a head nod. Do I have any other news and notes from your end, buddy? All right, well, I'm good to go on that one. All right, so the drum roll. I know some of you leaders out there, you're probably wondering. You're like, did we win Friday? Tina, do we have the numbers ready for Friday? The daily winners? Okay, so I'm going to put Miss Tina, I'm going to unmute you for the daily winner.
Okay.
This is for the $50, right? So we're
Yes.
announcing our daily winners because we're doing a massive May contest. So if you're brand new and you're just joining us, if you go out there, your team can teach you, your team leader, your key leader, or your agency owner can teach you. You have a daily way of getting points here with us. Also, you can win $50 a day in lead credit, which is huge because you can go out, take that money, reinvest it back in your business, and create thousands of dollars of income for you and your family. So that's super fantastic. So I'm going to let you just give us who was the daily winner on Friday.
The daily winner was Mr. Stephen Durkin. Very good job, buddy.
Nice. I did not know that when we had him on the call. Did you, Grant?
Nope.
I did not know that.
I knew he had a shot.
Hey, nice. Well, hey, the man, the myth, legend will be doing our book of the month. So, all right, and Tina, you make sure I don't mess this up. So I'm going to give the top 3 teams from last week because this was really close, was it not?
It was.
Coming into number 3 spot. Wait, here. Yep, I'll do it this way. Coming into number 3 spot. Al Zarn, Mark Newbar. Close, guys, close. No cigar. Coming into number 2 spot. I know a lot of people are nervous out there because this was I believe this went back and forth all day on Friday. What do you think, Tina?
Yep, it did.
Back and forth. But I don't know if any of y'all ever seen, I'm a big University of Tennessee football fan. I watched this here during the COVID lockdown. There was this game that I watched many years ago. Grant, I'm getting to it, buddy. Hey, it was called The Miracle at South Bend. In The Miracle at South Bend, Tennessee was trailing 31-7 right before halftime, and they blocked the field goal. Come back and won the game 35-34. I say all that to say this, because the team trailing on Friday by a bunch of points done come back and won this past week. So coming into number 2 spot, Davis Martinez, number 1 spot for 2 consecutive weeks is Grant Reynolds' Jordan Gillum organization. So I knew it was going to be highly contested, and it was really close there at the end, right, Miss Tina?
It was.
Really close there at the end. So super congratulations to Gillum, to Reynolds, that organization. Certainly they worked their tail off. The points on Friday and really late on Thursday from that organization was phenomenal. Because, folks, they were in 3rd place going into, I believe, Thursday, right? So it was like Miracle at South Bend. That's where I was going with my analogy there. So I don't know if anybody got that. So, anyway, so congratulations to that team, that organization. The top 3 winners on that received $125, $75, and $50 in bonus. We'll go 3rd place up, Mr. Elijah Carujo. Way to go, Elijah Carujo. Finished 3rd place. Got another $50 lead credit. Way to go, buddy. Number 2 spot, Jordan Gillum. Way to go, Jordan Gillum. And number 1 spot, Mr. Grant Reynolds, number 1 overall producer. He deserved it, folks. So you're right, $15,000 in a week. It's hard to keep a good man down on that right there. So congratulations to everybody out there. This massive May contest has been a huge success because the leaders in our organization have promoted it accordingly. So thank you guys for doing that. And thank you for everybody that's participating. Thank you to Miss Tina, because she has to put up with all these numbers every day, and I don't have to. So that's pretty awesome. Thank you, Miss Tina, for that. One caveat to this week, I'm throwing out a little curveball here. All my base shop people that I've spattered out amongst the things, me and Miss Tina, we just had an emergency meeting a few minutes ago. We're going to keep them all the same because we think the teams are pretty even right now. We gave everybody a lot of good ways to get points. We're going to keep them the same for this week. We may switch them up next week. One other caveat that I am changing, each day, and you guys will like this, this is a way to make sure that our leaders are pouring into all of you guys out there. We've been giving 3-point bonuses for host of a Zoom session each day. And you had to go, if you're a leader, agency owner, or key leader, one of the people that I named, their last name, they had to go for their team to get an additional bonus points. They got an additional 3-point bonus each day if they hosted an hour-long Zoom session on our group meet. Separate from anybody else's. They couldn't do it inside of somebody else's and count it. Had to be separate, had to be for at least 1 hour long. That criteria remains the same this week. However, in an effort to even get more of those Zoom sessions hosted, we're making that 4 points this week. So it's 4 points for per Zoom session hosted, because we want to attract more people hosting those out there. You, as a team, you can only get credit for 5 different Zoom sessions throughout the week. So that's 20 more points that you and your organization can gain if you're out there hosting Zoom sessions and showing leadership example, because we love examples here at Symmetry Financial. So Tina, did I miss anything on that, buddy?
Nope, you're good.
All right, cool. My news and notes session is over with. I'm going to go up here. I see the man in charge. I'm going to put him on the spotlight video. And I'm going to unmute his line if I can figure out how to do that.
That'd be helpful.
Maybe I should not spotlight video, and then I'll unmute it.
It looks good.
All right, I've unmuted you first.
Awesome.
Now you're spotlighted, baby. Hey, we are good to go. Steve Durgan, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing really well today. A little better now since I just got the news. I was just waiting on what happened with Friday. So
pins and needles, right, buddy? Pins and needles, my friend. So
yes.
Well, congratulations to you and your organizations. Congratulations to you on Friday, buddy. Well deserved. Tell us who you are, where are you from, how long you've been with Symmetry, who you direct to. I know I'm throwing everything in the sun at you, and what you're going to be covering today for us.
Sure. I'm Steve Durgan, direct to Elijah Carujo, part of the Grant Reynolds organization. I started in November of last year, and today I'll be deep diving the snooze button.
I love it. I love it.
Did I cover everything? I don't know if I covered it. Right? I'm from Wethersfield, Connecticut. I'm from Connecticut.
Yeah, I love it. About and say you're up there in good old Connecticut. So, hey, take it away, my man.
Absolutely. So I'm around pages 50 to 60 right now in the book. And so this follows on the tail of 3 huge steps that the author Hal would have us take if we want to move away from mediocrity and into the life that all of us want. And so he says the first step was a 95% reality check, right? Reality is almost no one lives a life that's possible for them. And keyword there is possible. It is possible for them. But they're still not living into it for whatever set of reasons. And then he moves right into that for step 2, identify the causes of your mediocrity. And he gives us a really good list for reflection, some painful looking in the mirror on the causes of our own mediocrity in various areas. And then thirdly, he said, draw a line in the sand, right? You need to make a decision at some point to start living better and refuse to accept mediocrity for yourself. And so this is coming on the tail of that section. And so where does Hal take us as the starting point for living out this decision that we need to make today to not be mediocre? Where else but first thing in the morning, right? So he jumps in and he talks about the snooze button. Maybe that has an infamous power over your life. I don't know. But there was a time when I was a little cozier with the snooze button. I have since rejected it. As of the last few years. And so this book is just reinforcement for that, and that being a big step for me in the right direction. So Hal writes this, and this is worth quoting. He says, if you're like most people, you wake up to the incessant beeping of an alarm clock each morning, and you reluctantly drag yourself out of bed because you have to be somewhere, to do something, to answer to, or take care of someone else. Given the choice, he says, most people would continue sleeping, so naturally we rebel. We hit the snooze button, and I love this phrase, we resist the inevitable act of waking up. We resist the inevitable. That's what hitting the snooze button is. It's resisting the inevitable. So, you know, I think it's important just to think about, and Hal highlights this really well, all of the things we're saying by that action, right? What are we saying to ourselves? What are we saying to the world? I resist getting up. That's what it says when I press snooze. I resist my life. I resist moving forward. And I am therefore resigned to have a blah day. I'm resigned to have a mediocre day. And make no mistake, I mean, Hal's good at this too. He says, you know, when he lists the kind of the hazards before this, he says, don't think of things in terms of isolated incidents, right? There's no such thing. The decisions that we make today are powerful for good or for bad because they're predictive of what we'll do tomorrow. Every time I choose to do the easy thing instead of the right thing, I'm shaping my identity, right? I'm becoming the type of person who does what's easy rather than what's right. So as soon as they told me today that I had won the daily contest Friday, I ran and grabbed my journal. And normally I write wins at the end of the day, but today I just had to write it in already to give myself some extra fire for dialing after this. But it reminded me when I read this section at the beginning of this journal, which I bought a while back, I wrote out several resolutions that line up with what I want to be pursuing in life. And one of my resolutions sounded very much like this idea of choosing between what's easy and what's right. And I wrote, this was back in 2018, early in the year, I am resolved to choose discomfort every day whenever the less comfortable option seems the more profitable one, so that I might live a life marked by fulfillment, progress, and discipline, not merely ease. And so I wrote that and read that aloud to myself every day for the most part for maybe 3 or 4 months before I got it into my DNA. And that was back in 2018, and now I'm reading this and it's just like a confirmation, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So a few other things about the snooze button. When we hit the snooze button, we're psychologically signaling to ourselves that we're already defeated. I mean, think about it. Like we're saying or feeling things like, I can't get up today, or is it already that time? Or I just feel crappy. I feel like I just can't right now. I can't do this. Hitting the snooze button, and this is kind of where the science comes in. He brings in a doctor and he says, you know, it fragments what little extra sleep you're getting so that it's of poor quality. And you're starting to put yourself through a new sleep cycle that you aren't giving yourself enough time to finish. I don't know what your snooze button does. I think when I used to use snooze, it was like between 8 and 11 minutes, something like that. Probably varies. But either which way, you're not giving yourself enough time to actually finish a sleep cycle that you're starting. And the result, he says, can be persistent grogginess throughout the day. And so, you know, what happens when we're snoozing? I think the belief beneath this is that whatever's waiting out there for us today, that we feel we're not ready for it, we're not ready to face it, and we feel that we dread that thing or that set of things. And I don't know about you all, but I don't want to start my day in dread. That is just not how I want to start my day. It's not how I want to feel any given time. And so Hal's challenge for us is don't get out of bed because you have to, but get out of bed because you want to. Get out of bed because you want to live. To quote Inky Johnson, we just listened to a podcast interviewing him recently on our team. He says, how you view what you do affects how you do what you do, right? So getting up every day, that can become an empowering choice rather than some dreaded obligation. So the big how do we do this? He gives us 5 things. One is, he says, set your intentions before bed. Because your first thought in the morning is usually your last thought that you had before you went to bed. So if you go to bed thinking tomorrow's going to be a mess, you'll wake up feeling that today is going to be a mess. So set your intentions before bed. Create a positive expectation for the next morning. One way he suggests this is just to practice a simple affirmation. That can be as simple as saying something with you and your spouse. It could be as simple as writing something down. It doesn't have to be long, but practice an affirmation in your bedtime that affirms that you're going to wake up energized tomorrow. And Hal experimented with this with his own sleep. He would try 4 hours of sleep all the way up to 9 hours of sleep. And he would say before he went to bed, 4 hours is exactly what I need to feel refreshed and well tomorrow. I'm going to do great. I'm just going to be smooth sailing on 4 hours tomorrow. Somehow he'd wake up and it would happen. He doesn't pretend that it's all perfectly proven. He just says, try it. And I'd love to try it too. I recommend you try it. Think whatever you're going to get in sleep tonight, that's exactly what you need to feel rested and energized in the morning. It's part of setting intentions. You know, when you do this, you really get a sense of that proactive ownership, right? you enter your day not with reactive helplessness. And one of the ways I do this, and we just talked about it, I celebrate wins at the end of the day, framing, which also frames the next day with excitement, right? If you're coming off of wins, something happens and you're expecting more wins tomorrow, and you're ready to win tomorrow. So if it seems like it's out of reach, let me just say this, if it just feels like you can't get excited about everything you're gonna do today or tomorrow, at least get excited about how you're gonna start your day, right? You are starting your day for you. You're taking time to be and to be well and to practice the savers, silence, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, scribing for yourself. And so get excited about that. Like for me, it feels indulgent. Like I'm like, man, I'm gonna go have like a bar of dark chocolate or something. Like that's how it feels now.
Yeah.
Once you get a miracle morning a few times, it changes the way you're thinking about tomorrow, because even if the rest of the day, God forbid it's hard, that morning is gonna be awesome. So this is huge. Master your day, because the person who's mastered their day has basically mastered their life. Your life is just an accumulation of days. So number 2, Hal says, move your alarm clock across the room. Very practical step. If you're still using that thing, move it across the room so that when it goes off, and it better go off loud, you get up to turn it off, because that movement, that motion is one of those tiny activities that will help that body wake up and get moving in the morning. 3, he says, brush your teeth. He suggests that because mindless activity for the first few minutes gives you time to wake up. He says, drink a full glass of water. I keep the water by my bed, and I drink it as soon as I'm up. Hydration's huge because your body's gone without water for 5 to 8 hours. And then step 5, he says, just get dressed in your workout clothes. Hal encourages us to break a sweat before we shower. You know, I don't know about y'all, when I do exercise, it's like a low key, like it's lowercase e exercise when I'm doing my miracle morning. Like I'm doing like calm yoga, I'm stretching these, like I'm not going crazy in the morning. I go crazy in the afternoon to cut that afternoon slump. But in the morning, I'm starting soft. And so for me, I probably shower earlier than Hal would suggest. But in any case, those are the steps 1 through 5. Again, set intentions before bed, move that alarm clock across the room, brush your teeth, drink a full glass of water, and get dressed in those workout clothes. So that's all I've got today. Please budget time for a miracle morning, because the more you do it, the more you'll love it, the more excited you'll be to start your day. And definitely go to sleep early enough to get the amount of sleep you believe you need, because belief is really the key that affects everything.
Yeah, belief, you know, it's no doubt that belief, if any of you guys started with us, one of the key ingredients to being successful here is the 4 cornerstones. And belief is the #1 cornerstone in Symmetry Financial. And it's the #1 cornerstone of really the books you read or anything, because if you don't believe anything that you're reading and you never actually take any action on it, nothing actually tangible ever changes in your life. And I know for me, it's certainly been a journey as I've read these books, and see what a great breakdown. I did want to make a couple of mentions. I was taking notes while you were going over that. Inky Johnson, little fun fact, was a defensive back for University of Tennessee. I don't know if any of y'all know that. So there's a caveat to that. Set intentions before bed. It's one of the things, like I've read so many books over the years that have same common core principles, and it talks about setting intentions before you go to bed. It's one of the things, if you've ever talked to me, if you're one of our leaders, one of the things I've always talked about is making a to-do list before you go to bed. What is that? It's essentially you setting your intentions for your next day before you go to sleep. And it makes your life so less chaotic once you get up during the day. And it sounds so simple that most people don't do it. And it's like, this country bumpkin told me to make a to-do list, and that's supposed to change my life. And I'm like, yeah, it's so simple. Most people won't do it. And I'm telling you guys, that is such a key ingredient that I could share with anybody out there. And I loved what you said about resisting the inevitable. It's like we all tend to do that in life. And what books like this tends to do is refocus on us on what we are resisting, that in life, in the end, is the inevitable. If we want to grow, if we want to get to a higher level of existence in our life and in our relationships and our business, then we have to stop resisting the inevitable principles that get us where we want to get to. And so beautifully said. Love that, buddy. I was taking notes and just fired up for you, man. Proud to have you a part of the organization, man. I know you're part of an amazing team with Elijah and Grant. So appreciate
Yes.
you, sir, and all the great things you bring to the table, buddy. And congratulations on your win on Friday, my man. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So, yes, sir. Proud of you, buddy. All right. So I'm unmuted. All right. I've got him unmuted. I'm going to bring him up on the spotlight video. There we are. Mr. Grant Reynolds, how you doing, sir?
Hey, you know, I'm doing well. Can't complain. Kicking
Yeah,
tail,
yeah.
taking names, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, your group, man, this past week, 29,673 in premium. Yourself, you did 15,788, buddy. You know, was that a new record for you guys?
that was we broke a record and broke a weekly record, and I think we've broken a record for how much we've written so fast in a month.
Yeah. Well, it was certainly a tremendous rally by you and your organization, buddy, and Gillen partnering up with you on that. Just tremendous on the contest, but man, just phenomenal results that you guys are getting out there. And I just wanted to spend a couple minutes with you before we get off the call today. Is really what's some things that's got you fired up about the business right now? If you just want to share with us and share with the organization.
Yeah, I mean, I think now we're in a place now where what we're able to do and what you're capable of and your capacity, like limits are actually off. Because that 15 I wrote mainly Monday and Tuesday. A little bit of cleanup on Wednesday. And so the majority of that, and that was mortgage protection, right? So I'm not dealing, you know, none of those were like 7,000 in an IUL. This was mortgage protection. Average APV was right about 1,200 per application. And I sat with 12 to 15 people. And that was, you know, that was the key. And so I think I'm just so excited about right now where we're at is if you had to come into this business and say, I need to make a drastic change this week for my family, for my finances, I was able to do that on Monday, Tuesday, clean up Wednesday. Imagine if you had to, and you did that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, what you could do for you and your family. And that's what I'm so excited about is you can do this such a more efficient scale, higher, bigger scale than anything we've seen. I was talking to an AO buddy of mine. He said he's seen his $7,500 a week producers turn into $10,000 to $12,000 a week producers. He saw his 5,000 go to 7,500. Thing that was interesting is he saw his 3,000 go down to zero. Because consistency is the key here. And so you have to be consistent. So if you can be consistent, you can be direct, you do what you need to do, sky's the limit. There's no ceiling. There's also no floor. So.
Yeah, no, I love that. We were talking, you know, it's like the dynamic of component of time. We all have a limited amount of time. It's 24 hours a day. And I think it's, like if you do the math there, it's either 148, 700, whatever, 140 something hours a week, 150 something hours a week, whatever the math comes out to there. But you have just a finite amount of time. One thing though, this is actually created, interestingly enough, by the current way we do it. A lot of it's telesales, a lot of it's Zoom sessions. We're taking out a component that we didn't have taken out before, which is that drive time, right? Mm-hmm. And so now it's like, what do you do to reinvest that time that you now have gained? And it's like, you know, maybe give us some examples of what you've done with that extra time that you've been given. Yeah.
So before, if you didn't know before, if I wanted to go run appointments, I was driving 3 to 4, sometimes 5 hours to Delaware, Maryland. I was doing that. Or I was having to drive an hour to 2 hours down into North Carolina, into the boonies, and run out there. And so there was a large chunk of time that I spent driving in the car. There was a large chunk of time. It had to be very strategic because in order to get leads for me where I lived, I had to work in multiple counties. So I had to be super strategic on where I put my appointments. To give you a picture, so I would spend Friday, Saturday dialing to book it up. And then if something, it had to go just right. now I booked 15 appointments on Monday morning for Monday and Tuesday. I got no-showed. I jumped back on the phone and booked another appointment to take a spot. I had a break, and I was able to do 30 extra minutes here and get another appointment booked. I booked 7 more Tuesday morning. And the beautiful thing is you can book and now put them exactly right there, same day, turn around and get paid 24 to 48 hours later. And so maximizing your efficiency and your time you can do more dials now to book more appointments because you don't have to stop to go get in the car and drive. You could dial all the way up to an appointment and then boom, you're good to go. Where before, if I was driving up to Delaware today, I would already have to be getting in the car. And so I could get a little bit of dials on Monday, but now you can get all of them in, and it's just super neat. Just finding those efficiency pockets to double your time.
And one thing I was looking at, because I've looked at your GMR in different places. So you put in a GMR, which is a geographical mailing request, which is you basically saying, I'm going to take leads in a certain area. Symmetry sends them to me each week. I'm going to take leads every week. What's the area, what area of the country did last week's production come from? What state?
New Jersey.
New Jersey. Where do you live again?
Virginia.
Virginia. So I want everybody out there to get it. He lives in Virginia, right, folks? He's running appointments in New Jersey, and oftentimes when we look for excuses, we can find excuses, right, in life and anything, right? And certainly we all can there's all valid excuses we all can make anytime. But I just wanted to point this out because a lot of people miss this. So a guy that just decided to go out and make it happen for him and his team this past week, ran appointments from Virginia and New Jersey. Keep in mind, he didn't have to drive there. He just called up, ran those appointments, telesales, Zoom sessions. Number 2 is the second hardest place hit in the country with COVID-19 is New Jersey. The only one that beats it's New York. Y'all with me? And so oftentimes we can sell ourselves, well, you don't understand my area, and then follow it with this. Does that make sense? It's like what I love is the example is you went into one of those hardest hit areas in the United States and made it happen of COVID-19. Because here's the fact of the matter. We're in life insurance, we're in mortgage protection, we're in final expense. Going to the worst areas would be the best areas for our clients because they need protection now more than ever. You with me? So I love that, buddy. Anything you want to speak about running in New Jersey last week?
Yeah. It's the reason I went into Jersey. Hello. The reason we got a friend.
I know it wasn't because of COVID-19. I know.
No, it wasn't because of COVID. I went into New Jersey, and this has just opened you up into my mindset. Is I take a look and I see what new leads come in every week on this thing called the A-Lead Inventory Blue List. Yep. And I write down patterns, and I started to notice a pattern where there was a lot of leads coming into New Jersey. And so instead of just having really good intentions, I went out there and dropped a GMR weeks ago to be able to provide for what I needed now, because I was noticing some things and I needed to make that change. And so, I guess my encouragement to everybody is, one, run it like a business. If you're running it like a business, then you're looking for those patterns and things to be able to make your business go to the next level. But 2, it's activity, not intentions, that breed results. So you can have every intention in the world, and you can look at every single thing in the world of what to do, and you can listen to every conference call and be on every little thing and still have 0 results, because it's the activity that you have to put in there. Have the intention, and then go put it into play. Because if I just sat there and looked at the pattern of new leads coming in and thought it was a really good idea, guess what it would still be? Really good idea. And it wouldn't have turned into what I have now, of what we were able to do last week and the lead flow that I now have. And so that's what I say, just especially now more than ever, activity, not intentions, for results.
I love that. Well, folks, we're going to leave it with that. Grant, wonderful, buddy. Love the example set by you and the team. Hey, look forward to seeing the competition. I love the competition amongst the teams last week. Super close competition between all 3 teams. Proud of all 3 teams out there, and let's go out there and make it happen for you, your families, and the families that we protect. Appreciate everybody. Thank you, Grant. Thank you, Stephen.